All right, guys, I believe we are live, and this is Killian with the Questionable Perspective. And today, I would like to discuss how Donald Trump was a serious bane to the Sanders campaign. And you might be wondering exactly what I mean, considering that Bernie Sanders never faced off head to head with Donald Trump. But what this really comes down to is Bernie Sanders' reluctancy and inability to hit Joe Biden, the rest of the Democratic candidates, and the Democratic establishment as forcefully, as often, and as potently as he needed to. Well, now, I now this really kind of boils down to the idea that Bernie Sanders did not want to kneecap any of the other Democratic candidates. And you might think, okay, he's running the Democratic race, so he wants the Democrats to beat Donald Trump. The problem with that, though, is that he was treating Donald Trump more as the root cause of the problem rather than the symptom. Though we already know that this is untrue. We already know that this is untrue. Bernie Sanders knows this is untrue, and his rhetoric at campaign rallies and at other times treats Donald Trump as a symptom, but his actions during this election, because you can do as much rhetoric as you want, because words are words, but what it came down to was Bernie Sanders' actions did not treat Donald Trump as a symptom that he was, and or did not understand that. Well, he understood, because he would talk about corruption this, corruption that, Democratic establishment this, and Democratic establishment that. But then when it came down to attacking these people, he was saying things like this, something that every Bernie Sanders supporter will say, that this literally probably almost killed him every time he did something like this.
Joe Biden, who is a friend of mine and a very decent person. Joe Biden, who is a friend of mine and a very decent person.
Oh my God, that just burns my ears every time that Bernie Sanders went out there and said that Joe Biden was a friend of his. He was conceding ground to Joe Biden, conceding ground to any, because he said this about multiple people in the race before it had just narrowed down to him when he was leading, and he would continually come out and say, insert this person as a friend of mine, or boom boom this, that, something to the effect of friendship or kinship. And it wasn't why it was like, why are you going to be friends with these people? These people are not your friends. These people all morphed together before Super Tuesday to form Voltron to effectively end your campaign. Because of why was it everybody versus Bernie Sanders? Because you were the existential threat to the Democratic Party. Your movement was an existential threat to the Democratic Party. Donald Trump, they can survive a Donald Trump potentially. I mean, it'll be harder, but they have a better chance of surviving a Donald Trump presidency as a Democratic Party than they do surviving a Bernie Sanders presidency. And you knew this, and you've said it on multiple occasions. So I want to show another video and another instance from a rally, I think in December, and he said this at multiple other rallies. But here's Bernie Sanders in December.
So what we are going to do is take on the greed of the insurance companies and the drug companies. We're going to take on Trump. We're going to take on the Republican Party. We are going to take on the Democratic establishment.
Right there. That's the thing we need to key in on. So he says that we're going to take on, rightfully, he says that we're going to take on Donald Trump. We're going to take on the Republican establishment, and then, last but not least, of course, he says we are going to take on the Democratic establishment. And if you listen to the applause lines at that rally, you realize that the biggest applause line came at the Democratic establishment one. And why does this applause line come as the biggest one? Because it's already a foregone conclusion that Donald Trump and the Republicans are malicious actors and are not acting in the best interests of the country. What does not get addressed enough is that the Democratic Party which Bernie campaigned against in a sense, is allowing this system to be propped up. This is an illusionary division between the two, that they both serve to prop up a certain worldview and try to take away dissidents from either side. So Bernie Sanders here is getting the largest applause line for attacking the Democratic establishment. Yet, debate after debate, he would go on show after show and say things like, Joe Biden is my friend, and every Bernie supporter that was paying attention to the campaign thoroughly would cringe every time he said that. And you know what? The Democratic Party suckered Bernie and allowed him and put these fears into Bernie's head. The fear of Donald Trump. The reason he doesn't want to injure these people is because he has bought into this misguided logic that Donald Trump is some sort of the worst president that we've ever seen in modern American history. Now, I know that we can't think outside of like our current frame of reference very well, but let's be honest. George Bush lied us into a war that killed millions of people, or between 100,000 to millions of Iraqis, and has left the Middle East in a quagmire. So it's like, yeah, Donald Trump, all Republicans are terrible, but what allows Republicans to exist is a Democratic establishment that gives them legitimacy by capitulating to their interests. So what Bernie Sanders needed to do in this race was to what got him the biggest applause line. And I know you're trying to build a broader coalition, but you need to pick a lane. Are you anti-establishment or are you not? Because if you're anti-establishment, if you are saying that these people are corrupt because they are taking campaign contributions from healthcare executives, are taking super PAC money, have, in Joe Biden's case, voted for a bankruptcy bill, voted for the crime bill, voted for the Iraq war. The list could go on. I could list them on. I could list on and on about the horrendous record. And you know these things. You call them out. And then even recently, this is more recently, but on the debate stage where Joe Biden is flagrantly lying, and the mainstream media is just not going to do it. And that's another thing. The Bernie Sanders needed to attack the media more, because what Donald Trump was just so effective. And granted, it's a different primary because of the Republican versus Democratic base is a little bit different. But Donald Trump was aggressively anti-media. And anytime that the media would try to smear Donald Trump, rightfully or not, he would just reverse it by claiming that they don't have any credibility, because they don't. Because if you really listen to these pundits, you understand what they're talking about and what they're not talking about is to set a narrative. How they talk about something and how they don't talk about something is to set a narrative. So it really comes down to Bernie Sanders. Why were you not out there attacking the media and the Democratic establishment as forcefully as you could? You've done a disservice to the campaign. Now, I understand that once you've picked a lane and you pick this like little middle ground lane, jack of all trades, master of none type of environment where you are kind of attacking the establishment, but you never go full hog at them. I need you to, Bernie Sanders could, I give him a 0.5% chance of still winning this election. It's not over, but it is not looking good. So I guess we are talking in past tense. But Bernie Sanders allowed himself to be scapegoated for Hillary's loss. He allowed himself, because the media ran this narrative over and over and over in 2016 that it was somehow Bernie Sanders' fault that Hillary Clinton lost, even though she didn't campaign in Wisconsin when he did for her. That his supporters didn't vote enough for Hillary Clinton when Hillary Clinton's supporters voted in lower numbers for Barack Obama than Bernie supporters voted for Hillary Clinton, which Hillary Clinton didn't deserve one goddamn vote, if we're going to be honest about it. But so So all of this media narrative that was ran against Bernie Sanders, and in his head he somehow sees Donald Trump as such a threat because of the rhetoric that Donald Trump is using. And yes, rhetoric does set the tone of the nation in a lot of instances and can be very damaging and can set the precedent for a lot of things. But you know what is worse than rhetoric? Continued corruption. And what two parties do that? The Republicans and, applause line please, the Democratic establishment. Because it's, if you're gonna do this, you have to understand what Bernie never, I don't think, ever completely committed to was that his movement was the only movement that would have stopped the root cause of Donald Trump. Because we know that these neoliberal establishment people are not going to effectively or put any change in that is actually materially affects what happens in the day-to-day life. And yeah, Donald Trump is bad now. We're lucky that he is a game show host, and that he's barely cognizant. It's 10 years down the line when people are still stuck picking between a douche and a turd, and they pick a worse Donald Trump. And you know why? Because Democrats haven't done a damn thing. And you know what is the most evidence of that? Is this coronavirus situation where you have Democrats, you have Kamala Harris out here offering $500 in tax credits a month during this crisis. You have Nancy Pelosi wanting to means test. You have Chuck Schumer. Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi are acting in the same vein, more means testing, all this and that they want to red tape this aid. They want to red tape all of this. They are no better than these Republicans. And the Republicans who are now shifting to populist policies like giving people money, whether or not they still haven't completely embraced it because their plan has been atrocious now that it's been fully rolled out, because the way that the money is being dispersed is red taped as well. But you're allowing Republicans to stand at least in the same lane as you, like they're always staying in the same lane as you, but to stand in the same lane as you, like apparently to the American population on a superficial level. And so you've now conceded this ground, and it comes down to the question, Bernie, what difference do these people make? You needed to run your campaign as if though you were the only hope for the working class people, because you needed to do this the way Trump, I know it's a different primary, but Trump attacked his opponents. Trump attacked the media, and it worked. And I know we are in a different primary, but you need to pick a lane. Either you're not going to or you are. And you found this weird middle ground where you'd at rallies attack the establishment, and then later on you would couch things in, oh, Joe Biden's my friend. And you know what this did? Joe Biden's campaign was ran purely on electability. His was all based on the perception that he was electable and the perception that Bernie Sanders was not. You know what Bernie Sanders needed to go? He needed to go to the media and start talking some shit. He needed to go to the media and tell them all this stuff you're spewing is lies. He needed to tell the media, you know what? Joe Biden and the rest of these establishment Democrats are the reason that we have Donald Trump, because their policies don't do enough for America. And because And if you put Joe Biden as the nominee, you are gonna run into a buzzsaw that is Donald Trump, ready to cut down these sticks that are the Democratic establishment. So, but Bernie Sanders could not bring himself to say Joe Biden is equivalent to Hillary Clinton, if not worse than Hillary Clinton. At least Hillary Clinton was cognitively equipped, at the least. Joe Biden doesn't even look like he has all of his faculties at this point. Yet this is the person, Bernie, that you're going to allow to run up against the Democratic establishment. Your fear of Donald Trump has allowed you to concede to the Democratic establishment this power. And it's really heartbreaking, because you are not going to injure the nominee by going hard on them. You know what Trump is? Trump has a great media machine, or a great internet team, and he's going to dig up every damn thing on Joe Biden, and he's going to hit him over the head with it. And just because you didn't hit him over the head with it doesn't mean Trump won't. And that's going to be the end of Joe Biden. And you know that. And you know that this and invariably will lead to a worse Donald Trump later on. And that's the thing that's so annoying when I'm in these when I listen to people talk about how bad we need to beat Donald Trump and how we got to vote for Joe Biden and all this, including Bernie Sanders, who said that he would campaign for Joe Biden and all these things. No, we don't need to campaign for Joe Biden. Have Joe Biden win on his own merit. If you are such a great candidate, then win on your own merit. If you've been deriding the left and you've been deriding Bernie Sanders supporters, calling us Bernie bros in derogatory form, and that was another thing Bernie needed to hit that head on, never did. You're doing all these things though, and then you're calling us, telling us that we need you to win. I'm sorry, but half of Bernie Sanders supporters are disaffected voters who aren't going to vote anyway. So it's like, you're mad at Bernie Sanders supporters. You should be mad at yourself for not allowing 40% of the electorate in presidential elections to come out. There's 40% of people that don't vote. This is an establishment problem, and you aren't doing anything to effectively change this because you don't want people to vote in mass. Because when people vote in mass, yeah, they usually vote for Democrats, but when people really vote in mass, they start to vote for what they actually believe in once people are not silenced by this propaganda machine and this feeling of inadequacy and this feeling of that they do not affect the political sphere, that what they say doesn't count. And truly, with the money in politics and somebody running a campaign like Joe Biden, they have a right to feel this way. And in that same vein, it was disgusting when Bernie Sanders muzzled his Zephyr Teachout, his surrogate that was calling out Joe Biden's corruption, where he says, "Oh, I wouldn't go that far," or when Nina Turner says he betrayed black people right before South Carolina, "Oh, I wouldn't go that far." No, Bernie Sanders, we are going that far because I know your ideology is you're a counterpuncher and that you're not an attacker. But you didn't have to give anything up on your ideology. All you had to do was say the truth. Why is it that you could viciously attack Donald Trump, but you could not viciously attack Joe Biden? Well, Donald Trump is the most apparent monster. The Democratic establishment and Joe Biden are monsters in themselves, and you know this. You fought against them when they were putting in bankruptcy bills, the Iraq war, this and that. So why are you calling these people your friend? Why? I'm not friends with people that are doing things to hurt people that I know need help. I'm not friends with people that are going to stab me in the back. So why are you claiming, going on the campaign trail, going on these mainstream media shows and couching all of your statements by saying, "Well, Joe Biden is a friend of mine"? No, you are not. Do not be afraid to kneecap this man. You know who's going to kneecap this man? This man's degenerative knees are going to kneecap this man. This man's cognitive decline is going to kneecap this man. So it was just one of Bernie Sanders' biggest weaknesses, in my opinion, was his fear of Donald Trump. His idea that this rhetoric of what Donald Trump could do would be so bad. It would be an interesting experiment. Obviously, we can't do it if somebody else was the Republican nominee, and if Bernie Sanders would be so reluctant to hit the establishment, because they deserve to be hit for everything that they've done. And it needed to be called out. Bernie Sanders needed to call out that you guys are part of the root cause of what caused the Donald Trump. Joe Biden, you are what is leading to figures like Donald Trump able to get prominence. You are doing nothing materially for the working class. In fact, things you have done have hindered the working class. The crime bill, the bankruptcy bill, Iraq war, DOMA, on and on and on. These things have not been progressive. They have barely even been, the Overton window in this country is just so backwards that, everything he's saying is right wing, but this wouldn't even count for the window shift in America. Joe Biden literally put a posting out that David Schroeder had dug up that showed that he proudly claimed that he was the most conservative Democrat. Joe Biden. So remember that when you are allowing these people to skate by, you've done a disservice to the movement. You've done a disservice to your campaign and to all the people that have donated to you, the people that have volunteered for you, so on and so forth. Your surrogates who put hard work in, and you come out and muzzle them. And so what I need is the next person that runs against the establishment, we need to tell them, no, we are gonna call bullshit on bullshit. I need a warrior out there. And while Bernie Sanders got far in this campaign, he invariably fell because of his fear of Donald Trump. This obviously hurt him in South Carolina, and this obviously has hurt him post Super Tuesday, and this has hurt him the entire campaign. And granted, he was winning, but back that you can decide to run a campaign, it's hard to switch up in the middle of it. And he should have started out his campaign being anti-establishment, boldly anti-establishment media, corporate media. But instead, he couches all of these things, pretending as if though they aren't all running to stop him. And what do you know in the end? They were all running to stop him. So, thank you guys for watching. I'm hopefully going to start putting out more videos this next couple weeks. I've been on a little bit of I was not feeling as motivated to do them, but now I got a lot of ammo that I wanna unload on a couple of these videos. I'm gonna have a video coming up about the super PACs with Elizabeth Warren. I'm gonna have another one coming about just the media's treatment of Bernie Sanders, and a lot more is coming out. But thank you for watching. Like, share, and subscribe. Actually, really do these things, guys. If you made it this far, really do these things. I mean, my channel's super small, and I'm almost talking to myself, but I'd really not like to be. I want to be getting this message out to more people, and I know I got to stay persistent, so that's why I'm going to be putting out more videos. So just like, share, and subscribe. Comment for any improvements you could see, anything you would like to see, any content you would like to see. All right, thank you, guys.